In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use a construct called a before sentence to give your game a sense of space. And to describe why you'd want to do that, let's take a look at this little map that I've got going on here. There we go. Okay, so I just have a simple two-room map. I've got two locations, bottom of hill and top of hill. Now, one of the problems, I guess maybe artistically, with this style of map is, let's say you've got, you're in a cave, and to the east there's a long rocky tunnel to another chamber on the other side, right? But you just type east and magically you're teleported there, and you don't really have any sense of like the journey between the two places or how hard it was to get from one place to another. So what I'm going to show you here is a trick that allows you to add that kind of level of polish to your writing. So the idea is, if we're at the bottom of the hill and we go up the hill, right before we get to the top of the hill, before we actually execute that move command, we're going to print out, after a long, tiring slog, you finally reach the top of the hill, right? And then, maybe when we go back down the hill, before we reach the bottom of the hill, we'll print out, you speedily, slide down the rocky road or something like that. We're just going to add a little bit of polish that helps paint that world in the player's mind. So let's go look at how to do that. Okay, so here we are in Lantern. You can see I've imported that project. I just have two locations, bottom of hill and top of hill. And let's go to sentences here real quick. I'm not going to make a sentence yet, but you can see that there are three types of sentences: before, instead, and after. Before is a place where you can sneak in code before the default behavior happens, before the instead behavior happens. And the after sentences are used for reporting the results of things that happened in the instead sentences. So like for, after wearing something here, we print, you put on the whatever. And after closing something, we print, okay, you closed the whatever. After dropping something, we print like, okay, you dropped. So, but what we're gonna work with here is the before sentences. So before actually carrying out the action, we're going to sneak in some of our own code. And you can see I've got there's some before sentences here that are kind of built in. So if you try to examine something, before you actually look at it, it's like, okay, if it's portable, pick it up, great. Because if you're going to examine a piece of paper on the floor, right, you'd pick it up to examine it. And the same thing with wearing, right? If before wearing the thing, well, you'd pick it up. All right, so let's go add a function here. I'm going to call it before east. And let me click add here, and then let me put in some code, PR, tab. After a long, tiring hike, you reach the top. All right. Maybe I'll just print out a blank line after that. There we go. Okay, so now I've got this code, and all it does is print out, after a long, tiring hike, you reach the top. All right, so that function that we wrote is just sitting there. It's not actually it's not wired up to anything. It's not going to get run. So how do we make sure that thing gets run? Well, that's where we add a sentence. So let's click on the sentences tab here, and I'm going to say, if the verb is east, then I want to call my before east function. Now here's the trick. I don't want to say instead, because then instead of going east, I'm going to print out, after a long, tiring walk, you reach the top. Okay, so I want to do this before I actually do the move, and then I'll click add here. Okay, now this will work in this particular game because we only have two locations. However, what I probably want to do here is check where the player is, because otherwise, anytime I go east, it's going to try to print this out. So let me put in an if statement. If tab, copy and paste, copy and paste. All right, you're going to be a jerk like that. Fine. Okay, tab. All right, so let's check where the player is. That's the player's holder, or the player's parent, or the player's location. PL tab dot L tab location. Ooh, look at that. Parent or holder would also work. They're all just synonyms. Equals, okay, so what was that first room? It was bottom of hill. There you go. So if the player's at the bottom of the hill, then print this out. So if this condition is true, then do that. So let's save this and run it. Okay, so there we are. We're at the bottom of the hill. A long road to the east winds up to the top of the hill. Let's say east. After a long, tiring hike, you reach the top. Now we're at the top of the hill. So you can see that this thing got executed before the default built-in action, which is, that's the built-in that's the built-in default response, or it's the instead function if you've added that. So there we go. Now let's go west, right? So now let's go add one to, let's just, for the sake of completeness here, let's go add another one here. I'll add a function called before west. Click add. And now let me go just copy that code, paste it in there. If the player's location is the top of the hill, maybe you quickly descend the rocky road or something. Or something. I don't know. And now we have to do the same thing. We have to go add a sentence. So if the verb is west, then call our before west function, and we're going to before we actually carry out the move, we want to sneak in this little thing that says, if we're at the top of the hill, print out, you quickly descend the rocky slope. Let's go add and run it. Okay, east. After a long, tiring hike, you reach the top, west. You quickly descend the rocky road. Okay, right, so there we go. Now what that's done artistically is it has made the world seem a whole lot bigger. And it's not like, okay, there's a castle 3,000 miles away, east. You're at the castle, right? It's kind of like, it builds that sense of, okay, you had to struggle to fit in that drain pipe before you moved through the pipe, or you had to squeeze yourself into the rocky crevice before you could move through it. Or in this case, if you're traversing a swamp or something, it's like with great effort you traverse through the swamp, right? Now you're at the other side of the swamp. So that's what the before sentences can be used for, is putting these little messages in that happen before a movement takes place, and that really helps build that picture of the world in the player's head, and they make the game feel a lot more polished. So be aware that this can be done, and it really provides the player maybe with a sense of like effort, how much effort the your avatar or your player had to put into that move. I don't know. I think that just little before movement messages, if you just sneak in a few of them here and there, it really helps you provide your game with a sense of space.